Hey, so in this video, I wanted to talk about how I use the hobonichi cousin. So this was actually my second cousin. The first cousin I had this spring 2020 start, and that book I threw away for lots of reasons, but it was kind of the worst. It was a really sucky time. It was pandemic. So my school life really slowed down, but I was working basically like 70-hour weeks between two other jobs. And it was just a super busy time in my life, and I'm really glad that God brought me through that. But I was working at a corporate company, killing myself. I was on track to like really move up. And then kind of April, May of 2021 is when that changed. That God abruptly like pulled me out of that job. Like all the circumstances aligned that I wouldn't have to be working there anymore. And it was just something really hard to let go because I already had built basically the next 10 years of my life on working at that job and having all the resources that come with that job, helping pay for school and all this other stuff. So because that whole situation ended and I ended up leaving that position really abruptly, it was like a whole new chapter in my life. And I didn't even want to think about that past year because it was crazy. So much stuff going on, so much family stuff. And like I said, I was basically working 80-hour weeks. I would come home, go to sleep, get up, like take the kids to school and go to work. And that's what I would do day in, day out. So I wasn't journaling a lot, and a lot of my like even daily pages in that book are just like cry me a river, I'm overwhelmed, or we're blank, or we're scratch paper, or angry things. It was like a time I was really wrestling with God. But enough about that. The point is, I don't have that hobonichi cousin anymore. I threw it away. I threw it in the trash, and I'm glad I did. I mean, sometimes it's like nice to look back, but I throw away a lot of journals. I throw away a lot of notebooks, especially when I use them just for planning. It's only when I start to include those journaling and those moments and that commonplacing in my books that I really do want to keep them. But that's a long enough intro. The purpose of this video is to talk about functionally how I use this book. So as I mentioned before, it's so cool to see what people are using, and I love people's gorgeous spreads, but how they're actually using something is what makes it applicable to me, even if I'm not using the same thing. So that's what I wanted to share. So I just sticky noted a few spreads that I wanted to show, but basically, I was using it very, very functionally. As you can see, like, if you look at some of my other videos, I did a lot of decorative journaling and bullet journaling, but this was just this type of time in my life where it was just strictly functional. I have, like, a dried flower that I found taped here, but I have, this is what, like, a print. Oh, I could actually use this. This is a print impression tab on one of those Post-it removable tabs. So this is all I was doing for my monthlies. That was really it. When it came to my weeklies, like I said, I started this book around May. So this book starts in April. So all of April, I just had blank pages. So I used this to lay out all the times for my favorite workout classes. And this, at this point in my life, this vertical hourly layout was so functional to me. I wasn't into Google Calendar, and I went from working 80 hours to working basically like 25 hours a week. So I had a lot more time. So I started getting my butt back in the gym, and these were these classes. So I just had it here for reference. And then this is what my weeks were looking like. So I had some really ugly things, and then I had some more like, oh, pretty, like here I ordered stickers for the first time for a planner, and like I was trying to lay out like my school. So this was my school schedule, this was my work schedule. So I was still working every day. It was just like drastically cut. Tracking my sleep, just some to-dos. And this wasn't the most functional for me, honestly. It just helped me kind of see what my week looked like, and it was pretty. So when we talk about using your planners functionally, this was nice. Now, I could not imagine taking the time to block out in time what I really have to do. And I know it works for a lot of people, but for me, functionally, this was just kind of to see where my free time is and what I could do with it. So here in the morning, I was at the gym, then this black time I was in school, and then here I was working, and then my nights were free, or some nights here, these were church activities. So I didn't have a lot of like flexible time, so it wasn't the most functional for me. I was just doing this because I had it, and because it was pretty, and I loved people's spreads. So my first takeaway from this video is don't just do something because it looks pretty. I mean, honestly, do whatever you want, but if you like taking the time to just make things look pretty, then go for it and do that. But I realized this kind of stopped being functional for me. Oh, no, actually, this is the week I stopped using my cousin. So this is actually a really funny story. I was going home to see my family in Ukraine for like 3 months. The night before, I was hanging out with my boyfriend, and I left my cousin, like just like this, on the hood of his car, and he drove home, and I had to be at the airport at like 4 a.m. the next day. So there was just basically no way for me to get it back, because he came, so we were with him and he was in his car, and then he came back in his friend's car, like a bigger van, to pick up my mom and my siblings and I to drive us to the airport. But it was a different car, and I didn't even realize that I didn't have my cousin with me. So I didn't have it with me for 3 months. So this is why the cousin really worked for me, because I had 3 months of weeklies and 3 months, actually in total, if we count April, 4 months of dailies that were completely blank because I wasn't there. And I used an A6 Midori the whole summer that I was in Ukraine. But because I had these weeks free, once I came back, I could use this for a lot of things. So here, I just had all these meal, dinner ideas on these post-it notes, and I could just move this post-it, whatever meal I wanted, or whatever meals I needed for a certain week when I was doing meal planning. Like I said, this was what, 2021, so this was 2 years ago. Now, I cook dinner. I get most of the groceries from my house, but I only cook like at most 3 nights a week. The rest of the nights, my siblings, or I'll cook multiple meals ahead of time, or we'll meal prep, or sometimes if my mom's up for it, she'll cook. But basically, even now, I like kind of do something similar with my meal planning, but this is where it started. So here we can see this was just meal plans. So I was using all these 3 months of blank weeklies as meal plans, which I thought was a very incredibly fun and creative idea. I probably got it from somebody, but then I came back. So this is September. So I came back home and I had my cousin again. And this was, again, I was blocking off my work time. And I was just doing these like pretty but very minimal spreads. I tried in the beginning doing some little journaling at the bottom, but I don't like memory keeping in these thin columns. I was like, maybe the Wonderland 222, it has a little bit wider columns, but this functionally does not work as a journaling spread for me. It had to be a planning spread. And my weeks look so similar. I work very similar hours. I'm in school the same times for the most part. So these little trackers I really like doing. This is kind of how I started tracking, so it was cool to see multiple weeks like this, just of tracking. But I was blocking out my work times, blocking out the times I'm in church, blocking out the time I'm in school, and I didn't have any space for to-do lists. Like, I guess I could. I tried sometimes doing little to-do lists in these blank pages, so if I had this time blocked out for studying, I'd write on my to-do list, but it seemed so cluttered. It stressed me out so much. And then I think the most functional part to me about all these weeklies was the sidebar with the trackers. See here, I tried doing my gratitude at the bottom, never stuck with it. This was a really gorgeous and pretty spread. Still doing the trackers, blocking out work times. Pretty sticky note, but functionally, this worked for me because it was stress relieving at the beginning of my week to plan out my week and see where my time was going. And this vertical spread, like I said, as many times as I keep repeating, I love visually how it looks. I love how it looks like for other people. I love how it looks like in here. Like, I used all my post-it notes to tab these beautiful, beautiful spreads. Are you kidding me? Like, this is so gorgeous. But it wasn't really serving me in any way. I was still doing like weekly overviews in my daily pages. So what was the point of this? Like, I'm sure I could have played around, tried to make it like a horizontal spread or broke something in half, but I never really did. And it's kind of a headache. Like, what's the point of having a data planner if I'm not going to use it? Then I might as well just get a blank notebook and save my money. I like the dates though, so I don't ever know what I'm talking about. Here, this whole month was just notes because I wasn't in this book, so throughout the year I would go back and do commonplacing notes. The thing I like to repeat over and over again apparently on my channel is that you make your planners work for you. So because I started this planner a month late, and I also didn't have this planner with me for 3 months out of my life, in which I would have loved to have journaled in this book, it's okay because I ended up using all of these pages See, this was January 21st, 2022. So I didn't even, and this is a spread from April 18th of 2021. So I went back and I used these pages, this gorgeous tonal river paper, and it was just dailies and journaling. Now, this is when I really start. So this post-it is where I really started to use this book. And I just had long lists. Then is where I started my dailies. And this was my first time out of my little A6 bullet journal that I used dailies in my planner. And because, like I said at the beginning, this was a completely different transition period of my time. I had time to put myself first, or to put God first, to put myself first. This is when it was towards the beginning, like towards me getting this book, that God really saved me. I got a relationship with him, and I finally had time to put him first, obviously, in all I do. I had a lot more time for my family, for my relationships, for my friends, and for myself. So even here, I started tracking my food every day. I was writing my daily tasks, my food, and then journaling. And this was like a very big, this notebook in this time of my life just was filled with so much revelation. And this was like a very big thing. Like, I was struggling with school. I was thinking about going to university. So it was like, does your academic life look like you love the Lord your God? And that was really convicting to me to this day, because how am I not going to be lazy in any other area of my life? But I'll be lazy in my education, like the education that God called me to have. Are you kidding me? But I was just using this very functionally. I wasn't pretty planning very much, but this was a big thing for me. Like, the Coffee Monsters style is to use this column as a to-do list and to use this time for journaling and for other tasks. This was, oh, I'm not gonna show this, but this was a note my boyfriend wrote out to me, and I just glued it in here. This was what was this? This was a latte I got, and I just put that in here. And you'll see, like, I put all my coffee orders in my planner now, and this is where it all started. So just notes, some commonplacing, again, tasks, unchecked task list, and then journaling for the day. And it didn't bother me that I didn't use all these pages. A lot of times I would go back, and even if I didn't, like, this book was there to serve me. So it kind of just goes on like that for a few months. There's some cool things, like here, it was just like a little magazine spread. I just had lots of post-its, lots of notes in here. And then these were those kind of 3 months that went empty, so I used this for a lot of like heartfelt journaling. So I'm not really gonna go too far into that. But then, this is October, yeah. A lot of heartfelt journaling. So this is in September when I got this book back. So I was used to being in A6. So I was doing my breakfast, lunch, dinner again, my tasks, and journaling, tasks. And this was all kind of like boring and lame. I was really uninspired. Just notes. And like, as much as I like to throw away my planners, this was such a cool time in my life, such a different time in my life. So I like to look back and I want to look back and keep this for now. But towards the new year, towards December, as I always do, usually my birthday's in the middle of November. So in November, I always get extra like inspired to like do fun stuff. So this November specifically, of 2021, as much as I thought the previous year when I was working full-time was hell and the worst thing ever, no, it was this time. And thus far, I'm sure there'll be plenty more things in the future, but thus far, this is when the most difficult season of my life began. I was tested in every possible way, went through a lot of loss, lots of fun, not fun, but lots of traumatic and difficult things, and God was really sustaining me through it all. And this book was really a revelation of that, and I started to kind of get some joy back, like really take hold of the peace that I've been given, So I started journaling again. Like, I did little stickers. I started being colorful and fun, and you can really reflect like when I was just surviving and when I was really living. Even though this is some of the hardest times of my life, literally I have sucks to suck written right here. It was probably a really hard day. But I was just living and being sustained by the joy of the Lord, the grace of God, and it's so cool to see that reflected in my planner. Like, this is one of my favorite spreads ever. I remember I posted this on like my normal Instagram. My friends were like, why are you posting your notebook? They don't get it. This is why I have a channel, because they don't get it. But this was a sterling ink calendar. It was so gorgeous. This was just some things I went through in school that day. This was my Starbucks order for that day. Some to-do lists. But in here it says, the same grace that saves you is the same grace that sustains you, like what I was just talking about. So it was just so cool. Like I said, this was the like worst, crappiest time ever. I didn't want to get up out of bed any morning, but God was sustaining me. And it's so cool, like, even to see the creativity, because you can look at a spread like this and it could seem really simple, but this took like some creative energy versus just, let me find something, versus just something like this. Like, this shows me that I was enjoying my life. I had stuff to write about, and it might not all be good stuff. A lot of this stuff sucks, but I really started utilizing this, and I realized why I loved the cousin the whole year before. Another Starbucks order, notes, and you can see I was always putting in these little orders. Like, my boyfriend got me like a Chick-fil-A salad, like literally that sticker I put right there. This was some notes from that time, just a school assignment. So I was using this notebook for everything, like absolutely everything. Before I used the Hobonichi cousin, I always had my journaling and my planning really separate. This cousin made me do everything together in one book, and I think because I had all of this space and I had those extra 3 months of blank pages, so I had the daily page, but I never felt like I was going to run out of paper because I had all this blank paper back here. And that's incredibly important. It's very cool to me to see a whole year of my life in one book, and realistically it's not going to happen right now because I can't carry something this big and heavy. And something I talked about in one of my other videos is how important it is to see what works for you. And just because something worked for you in the past doesn't mean that it's going to continue working for you. So as much as I loved this cousin and in all the ways that it worked for me, functionally the monthlies were awesome. The weeklies were pretty, they made me happy, and the dailies plus my 3 months of blank dailies were so incredibly functional to me. And I understand that if I took this on now, obviously I could make it work, but it would be very hard to work with my lifestyle. I wouldn't really enjoy it. So as much as I love the idea of the cousin, and I'm sure I will go back to it someday, right now is not the time. This year is not the year, and that's okay. So the priority now is what can I really fit into my life and what can work well for me. This was some kids in my Sunday school class colored this for me, and I asked them if I could have it, and I just glued it in some of these back pages. I didn't really use any of these blank spreads. I had some fun things here. Oh, and this I didn't even show, but throughout the year I was collecting. So this I got from Virgo on paper, but throughout the year I was collecting these stickers. So this I got, one of my teachers gave it to me. This was like an inside joke with my boyfriend. This was from one of my brother's hoodies. This is from a trip I took, and this is a picture on an HP sprocket. This Queen City Designs. Oh, I was setting up a ring planner for my mom, and this was the paper. From that summer that I didn't have this book, this picture is my cousin was joking around with me, and she had my brother take this picture of us walking. But this, I came back from my 3-month trip, I printed out and I glued it in here. Back here too, I just had some post-it notes, another sticker that I got, just a picture, and then this was from my boyfriend's like piano packaging. Like, I just put it in here. This was My Little Prince stamp sticker. So these things I collected as I went. I didn't really, and I love doing that now, I didn't really put them in ahead of time. Oh, I didn't even talk about how I used these pages in the beginning. So as we can see, I didn't use them. It didn't happen. I tried to do a habit tracker. Didn't work. So I love this planner. I learned so much from my time, my 2 years in the cousin. These were big times in my life, and I know I shared a lot about my life in this video, so you can just skip past all that. But the biggest things I learned is that pretty planning like this is not functional for me, and that's okay, and I can still do it and I can enjoy it. It's just not functional. It doesn't organize anything in my brain. I can't fit to-do lists in between my blocked out events. It makes me feel overwhelmed. It makes me feel stressed. I love having lots of freedom with my dailies, and this book forced me to do my planning and my journaling together. And as much as that, even to this day, that concept is a little bit like, ugh, I don't love that. I don't love that by flipping back through my journal, I see what school assignments I had that day. But on the other hand, it's a very accurate reflection of my life. And that's why I keep this book. Like, so what did I learn? I learned that I like having lots and lots of space. I like big monthlies. Vertical weeklies don't work for me. Well, I didn't really learn that. And that I love dailies. I love dailies. I don't want to get rid of them. It forces me to journal. It forces me to be creative. It forces me to be intentional, not just to live by a to-do list, not just survive by my calendar or by my schedule, but really take time to note the good things in my day. Even what did I eat? Did I have a nice cup of coffee for breakfast? Did I see somebody I love? Did I have a good conversation? Did I meet somebody cool? Having a daily page forces me to do that, as opposed to just live by my to-do list. And I don't know about y'all, but I want to thrive. I want to enjoy my life while I have it here, while I wake up with breath in my lungs. I want to enjoy them and I want to praise God for them. I don't want to live just by a to-do list, even if life circumstances make you really busy. Even when I had my 80-hour weeks, because I had real bills to pay, I wanted to find things to enjoy in my life. So yeah, that's what I learned. Comment below your thoughts. Let me know if a video like this is interesting to you. I know it's very rambly, and I just basically flipped through this journal and like talks about my life, but let me know in the comments if you like this type of video, if I should do something like this again. Let me know if you have any ideas on what you want to see, and thank y'all so much for watching. Bye.